All right, what's up, everybody? This is an impact interview with Gracie Morrow. I don't remember the exact year I interviewed her in the past, but I know, Gracie, you think it was probably like 2019 is when we
I want
last
to
did an
say
interview?
2020 or definitely during COVID time
Oh, that's right.
because
It
the
was
market was
during COVID
crazy.
time. That's right. It was 2020. And
Yeah.
yeah, in fact, Paul just shared it was February 23rd, 2022 was
Oh,
the
wow.
last interview, but we did do an interview in 2020 as well. Uh, we need to make sure that we don't take so long between these interviews. I need to start making sure we do this every year. But so guys, Gracie is killing it. Like she's gonna close over 30 loans this month. She's on track to close over 300 for the year. And when you look at MMI or any data stats, which I did right before the call, I mean, she's in the top 300 realtors, or excuse me, not realtors, loan officers, mortgage professionals in America. So she's doing a lot of volume. And she's not a loan officer. She's a mortgage advisor. She's a mortgage coach. She's done thousands of mortgage coach experiences. And so we're going to have a ad hoc interview, and I'm going to ask her some questions. And Gracie, I guess let's start with just you, because it has been a couple of years. For anyone that's listening, share a little bit about the market you serve, a little bit about your mortgage practice.
Absolutely. So I'm in the Plano, a suburb of Dallas, and it's been really working in this market for the last 10 to 12 years. I came from a very business purpose driven family background. So it took me, apparently 8 years. I didn't get here overnight. So I have had fair share of lesson and how to build a team. So I would say the last 2 years since you interviewed me, the biggest change is our team has gotten so much bigger. We have a very clear process and systems in place. We're able to get on different production builders and large real estate offices because of people and systems we have in place. It's really one of those charts that you see that people work on their systems and teams years and years, and finally that we're floating onto the top, and then all people see is like, oh yeah, you guys are doing so well, but we've really been working on this for years. So I'm not a smart, quick learner, but I will just continue to work on until we get there.
Yeah, well, clearly to do that kind of business, be so consistent and just get better and better every year,
Yeah.
you're doing the right thing. And I truly believe, one of the things that's I think a real positive impact from the NAR settlement changes that are going to happen is that it will push both mortgage and real estate professionals to be more process driven, especially buyer's agents. Any thoughts on that? Just as you're talking to realtors in your local market of Dallas area, any thoughts you have on the NAR changes that are coming up soon in August?
Yeah, so we're now in partnership with 3 large RE/MAX offices. So I do get firsthand information from real estate agent. We go to their in-office monthly meeting. I would say in the beginning, everyone was really confused. But now the noise quickly died down because everyone realized that the buyers still need the buyer's agent. It's just the level of service you have to provide. And one thing that buyers always looking for is not just advice, it's the network that the realtor brings to them. So I actually have I think we'll have a better platform to play on the same playing field with real estate agents, because they need to bring us to the presentation to show that this is part of value that I provide. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, well, you should be. You're process driven. You deliver advice with price. I interviewed Sean Herrera, who's also doing really well right now, and
Yeah.
he said, I'm really trying to turn realtors into real estate advisors. And he talked about how he's delivering advice and how he is really elevating the real estate agent's experience for the consumer. What is your value prop? How do you describe it to realtors? And by the way, how are you doing 30 loans a month right now? Like what is the value prop you're bringing to the market right now?
I would say we want to be the lender that's very resourceful. we gotta have that, like you walk into a Dunkin' Donut shop, you got all the flavors. If you're only focusing on one or two programs and products, I don't think you're gonna be able to build a business to last, right? You're able to capture a certain market in a short amount of time, but what we're spending time on is to make sure that we have all the programs for everyone, that the realtors, builders have a chance to present a chance to purchase a home. So definitely the programs are very, very important to us. And then the process. Under process is really about efficiency, user-friendly technology, and communication. And I know people talk about communication all the time. There's still a lot of work for the mortgage professionals and real estate agents to improve on the communication, just because the process can be lengthy. We need to actually touch on, there's a lot of educational points that we can provide value to. So communication is something that we're still working on, and just find that perfect spot and always exceed people's expectation instead of just delivering the minimum requirement.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the first time I interviewed you or it was the last time, but you talked about your all-in-one TCA. Yeah, it was actually 2 years ago. I just pulled it up. It was called the All-in-One Pre-Approval Experience by Gracie Morrow. I'll put a link down below. Have you evolved that? Is it still similar to what it was 2 years ago?
We're constantly changing our TCA templates, because when the market is shifting, you got to find different solutions to speak the language that buyer wants to hear and needs to hear. The old one, the reason I know it was during COVID, I can't remember, was 2021 or 2022, is because the problem we had back then was a lot of multiple offer situation. And buyers are making offers, they weren't sure if the house is going to appraise. So part of the all-in-one is to give them 4 options. One is based on their purchase price, one is based on if the house doesn't appraise, one is based on if the house does appraise, and it's all centered around, we want the house, and we know there's 15 other buyers are competing for it. The market, at least for my area, have changed a little bit. We're still year over year, I would say 1 to 2% increase on the purchase price, but the days on market have definitely gone longer. So on average, we're looking at 35 to 45 days on market. You don't have a lot of multiple offer situations. So this month, our focus is to showcase the tax benefit to really encourage the first-time home buyer who is renting and who is paying that 26 or 28% tax rate without a mortgage deduction, how much money you're actually giving away or how much deduction you're not tapping into. So it's not really just you're wasting money on renting, you're also missing a big chunk of your personal tax deduction. So this is our focus that we've been talking about, on local TV channels and real estate offices, and I have received really good response.
So it sounds like you're really leaning in to the first-time homebuyer market because you could deliver so much education. I recently interviewed Sean Herrero, and he was showing the rep versus own, and calling out the fact of how detailed it is when it comes to the tax benefits. Are you doing, like, when you think of all the different advice experiences that you give with MortgageCoach, is rep versus own a pretty common version that you do?
I would say for now, we have a lot of other strategies. And if you look at our MortgageCoach template, we create a library of templates. It's just every buyer, depends on the market. With the interest rate where we're at now, it is definitely the second home market have chilled a little bit. I think right now the market is only about a 25% compared to 2 years ago. First-time home buyers is always an easier market for a lot of education to be shared. So to be honest, I think it depends on market condition, but we always look at first-time home buyer as the way to have that generational impact. Like, I think you always say that, what is the most impact you can provide? It's almost like the first person to teach someone how to ride a bike that person is going to pour the most impact. And during other market conditions, when the second home market is picking up or interest rate drop, we will be sharing a lot of other template strategies as we have before. But for now, I think the impact is first time home buyer.
I love that. And I want everybody to just think speed to need. You know, she's always looking for where's the problem? Where can I solve the problems and get to the need the fastest? And that changes from market to market. What it was 2 years ago is different than what it is today. And one thing I know for sure that as the market shifts, Gracie will always have a strategy. So do you, by the way, have you checked out First Home IQ at all?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We're
I
gonna
love
have
it.
to, yeah, we're gonna have to get you as a ambassador in First Home IQ. I'll introduce you to Kristen later.
Yeah,
But
no, I love it.
yeah, so do you have any sample rep versus owns that you could share or
I
any
do,
examples
yeah.
you can show? Yeah, why don't
I'll
you
just,
tell a
mhm,
story and share an example of how you're doing it? And if you could kind of lean, like show it from a borrower's perspective, but
mhm,
also speak from a realtor leadership perspective, because I do believe it's a great opportunity right now to recruit
mhm,
realtors, show
mhm,
them how you're delivering unique value. So if you
mhm.
could just kind of speak to that when you show it.
Absolutely. Um, would you want me to share my screen? Would that
Yeah,
be
go
okay?
for it. Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
So I think you nailed it as far as my approach has always been speed to need. If you look at any industry, and then I want to just bring this to light. First of all, I'm a big fan of all the podcasts, all the interviews you're doing. I think this is by far probably the most useful training, coaching, mentoring program that out there for mortgage professionals. I did a lot of different training and mentorship programs. And until about 3 years ago, what I decided to do is I decided to look outside the mortgage industry. One thing that I noticed that a lot of people in the mortgage industry, they do have a certain ways of operating their business, but the mortgage business is no different than the car business, no different than the insurance business, because you gotta look at what is a problem that everyone is trying to solve, including your real estate agents. We're talking about NAR, we're talking about interest rate. And the easy segment for real estate agent to get into is to show them how much money that they can save those renters by setting up their first home and start appreciating. And this is one of the slides that I did on a local real estate show. And when I went on that show a couple of days ago, I just went on Redfin and I pulled the current median rent in the neighborhoods in Dallas. And you can see there's rent that have gone to like 2,500, and you can look at the month to month change. It could be like as high as 24% change. So this is a message I would really try to share with for some home buyers is, would you rather spend 2,500 on rent and have a chance that this is going to go up another 25% next month or in 6 months? So when you mentioned about, let's talk about from a realtor perspective and also the home buyer perspective, is at the end of the day, this is a real problem for home buyers, the renters that are trying to get into first home buyer. You only have two choices, your rent or your own. So if you look at this slide I did, one thing that I came up with, and a lot of people haven't talked about it, is now that we don't know that exists, is the storage cost for renters and the social cost for renters. What is the storage cost? I've seen, I don't know about in your area, Dave, but there's a ton of storage facilities are popping up left and right in Dallas. And there's a need for it. And the reason is all those people are moving here, or maybe someone that started with 1-bedroom apartment and they met someone, a partner moved in, and now you have a ton of stuff, furniture or personal belonging that you just couldn't simply fit in your current living situation. So you're having to go out, spend $300 to $400 per month on storage. The social cost is something that, when we do the first time buyer consultation, we want to look at where they're spending their money. It's never about whether they can afford a mortgage, is where else you're spending your monthly expenses. And then when you look at all those restaurant bills, going out bills, they're paying $15 for a drink. They're paying, $12 for a glass of wine. A lot of them is because they don't have the perfect setting at their current apartment or rental to have a social gathering. So we wanted to actually bring that to a lot of first-time home buyers' attention to is, let's not forget about the social cost. It should all count under your budget to purchase a home.
Love that. And so, by the way, these slides, just to give context, these are something that you share when you're talking to both realtors and consumers?
Yes.
Or, and then it sounds like you also were on a show recently where you were sharing these slides. Is that right?
Yes. We have a buyer presentation, and the most common asked question that we get from first-time home buyer is, my rent is $2,500. What can I afford to purchase a home that keep the same amount of rent that we're paying? But what we're trying to do is actually really help them understand that you're not just paying $2,500 per month's rent. You're paying the rent and the storage and the social cost. So your total monthly budget on rent, it could be $35,000 or $4,000. You're just not adding them up together, right? So we want to actually bring to light and say, because $2,500, you can't really get a decent house in Dallas anymore. But if you have a $35,000 or $4,000, once you're able to combine all your expenses, then that becomes a much more realistic number for you to look at the price range to purchase a home. Got it.
Okay, cool.
And the next thing that I talked about is the average income tax bracket. Now the first-time home buyer age have really hover around 30 to 35. So the average tax rate is 24% to 26%. What I love about the Mortgage Coach, and this is honestly one thing that I don't know how I missed for so many years, and I just recently uncovered that, is the tax benefit. So if you're able to put the tax rate in Mortgage Coach based on the age and an income level, and when you do the buy versus rent, so for example, we just use someone's currently renting for $2,500 as example. Once we add a little bit social costs and storage costs, we didn't really go to the extreme level because if your rent is $2,500, we don't want to say your social cost is another $15 and your storage is $500. So we just kind of make it enough to make our point that your total rent budget is a lot higher than your current rent. So option number one is, if someone were to come to ask us, what is the purchase price range we're able to purchase with keeping the same amount that I'm paying now, we'll be able to easily demonstrate your purchase price of $350,000. However, once you add the tax benefit and principal paid, this person is saving $772 comparing buying versus rent, right? So then we're said, what about if you're able to add $500 more to your monthly budget, then your purchase price is $410,000. Still, once you add the tax benefit and principal paid, this person is still saving another $428. So this is a part that when I was talking about this on the Realtor show, and she just could not wait to share that with her database. And she said, this one chart right here, especially was a tax benefit, because when they don't have a mortgage, there's no deduction.
Right. So, by the way, when you're showing this in a slide. Do you often show it in a slide, or do you sometimes show the actual, digital total cost analysis?
We show the digital total cost analysis. I think I actually saw an interview that you did, or maybe Dan Taylor shared. He said, I don't even wait till someone apply to send them a TCA. As soon as they contact me and I ask them very simple question, how much you're paying rent, and I'm gonna send that to them before they even apply. I thought that was a very smart idea, and I would love to implement that here pretty soon. Just because this one chart, I think it takes all those convincing out of the way, or the buyer already come prepared with a lot of questions when you're actually doing that initial consultation.
Yeah, when I interviewed Sean the other day, and he pulled up a RIP versus own, and he showed where he broke down the tax benefits over a couple of years, and then he showed the net worth
Yeah,
increase. Do you usually show the net worth increase?
I do.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so that's the net
So
monthly
go ahead and walk
payment.
through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I spent a lot of time showing the net worth, and going back to your question is how do we relate this to the actual home buyers? If you're looking at the age, first of all, that, I think it's, you have to create a lifetime story. It's almost like telling the buyer what's going to happen, right? Because they don't know, they come to you and they have no idea what's going to happen. If you start looking at your first home at age 30, and a lot of time that people either just got married or they're going to get married when they start talking about buying their first home. Then 2 or 3 years later, maybe you start thinking about having kids. Imagine if you're able to stay in your first home for 7 years. That is when your kid is going to be around kindergarten age. And that is when you're going to have all the other expenses to decide whether you want to take your child to private school or public school. How much of outside activities that you want to do, and how many vacations, and that's when I think it's really get expensive. I have a 17-month-old. Luckily, I just need to spend on diaper money right now. But this is where we're making such a big difference in people's life, because I think you mentioned this so many times. If you grew up in an environment where you have seen your parents done this over and over again, I think those people probably don't need advice as much from us. It's the people that have never seen their parents go through this wealth creation, wealth building journey. So I always want to look at the age of the loan application and then put a realistic timeline for them. Think about you're getting married at 32, you're buying a house at 31, and you're gonna have your baby at 33, and you stay in the house for 7 years. At that time, you're gonna have almost 160,000 equity in your home when your baby is about to go to pre-K or kindergarten. Look at the possibility. So I always want to say, anyone that come to us, I wanted to make sure there's 3 things they walk away. It's not really a number. I think people get so focused on showing them how smart they are as mortgage professionals and real estate agents. I've trained my team. There's 3 things that I want everyone to feel when they walk away from a consultation from our team. They're happier, they're more satisfied, and they feel more secure. I just want those 3 things. I'm not here to show you that we're smarter than you guys. We do invest in a lot of knowledge and learning, but all this 160,000 doesn't mean the same to everybody. Someone can be life-changing.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I really think with the first-time home buyer, part of what you can do, especially post the NAR settlement changes, is walk people through the tax benefits and the way you have, like, give them context, how it really compares to what you have, and then showing the net worth benefits. And because most loan officers aren't showing that net worth benefits. Do you ever have, or I shouldn't say do you ever, I know it happens, but how often do you have situations where people have either a room that they're renting out, or they have some offset income, and you can show, like, hey, look at your net worth growth from your mortgage and your appreciation rate, what you have from a real estate standpoint. But hey, if you invested that $400 or that $600 that you got from an AVU or from renting out a bedroom, look at your net worth. Does that come up very often?
It definitely has in the past. So we have a presentation that same thing allocate certain revenue stream that you're able to get. And we have I know that Sales Boomerang does a great job for showing what is the night average rate that you're able to rent out for your house on Airbnb, I believe. So, we definitely pull certain information. What I like to do is I don't really want to just tell people this is what you can get. I try to find third-party verifiable information for them and then go through that discovery. And would that be an option for you? Have you thought about that? It is really what comes down to a personal choice, right? So we have had a lot of buyer, I would say, interested in learning more about that. And that's all we're here to do, is to give you the information you're looking for so you're happier, more satisfied, and content walking away. But one thing in Dallas, what I've seen is a lot of people are looking for duplexes. So they don't really technically want to share the house with someone, but they want to have a unit totally rent out to another person to cover half of the mortgage or even more than half of the mortgage. And we have done a ton of that.
Yeah, well, you can go ahead and stop sharing your screen, by the way, Gracie.
Okay.
And what I recommend to first of all, every loan officer, you need to become a master at this. And you could either show how that money offsets the payment, so it's about cash flow for the consumer, or you could show that money that, hey, what if I offset rent with half of it and I prepaid the mortgage with half? How much interest would you save and how much faster would you pay it off? Or you could show, hey, what if I offset the rent a little bit and I invested it at 5% compound? But to be able to provide that kind of advice as a mortgage professional really is going to make a difference, help the real estate agent show more value to the consumer, and it creates more value for the consumer, and it creates more value for the agent. So I think all the things we're talking about, if you don't know how to do what Gracie and I are talking about, make sure you sign up for our training. We do live training every day of the week, specifically on Wednesdays and Thursdays. We teach those kind of strategies in Mortgage Coach. You can sign up on our website. Also, I have a 10X page. You can go to trustingine.com/10X. I see you nodding your head. Have you used that 10X
Yeah.
website?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So, hey, before we run out of time, any last ideas, anything else you're doing that you think you want to make sure everybody hears before we go into wrap up mode?
I would say, I think you brought up the NAR settlement, right? Loan officers just really need to be consistent. And this is the time that real estate agent will really need a strong loan officer on their side to go through this. There's ton of opportunities out there. I've heard a lot of loan officers saying that, oh gosh, like the buyer's agent I've been working with for the last 2-3 years, and now they're not very motivated to work with buyers now. I think this is where that you become the light of the situation. And if we're constantly bringing tools and resources and value, and you just need to let your real estate agent know that that's great. That people are not willing to put the work in, is going to be out of business in the next 6 to 12 months. And this is where I can help you to build a strong team. One of my value proposition for real estate agent is I help them to build their systems. You'd be surprised, how many real estate agents that really have a solid process from start to finish. And it's very similar to what we do on the mortgage side. So I literally just plug in our system and then show them this can be done from A to Z. And we're in it for the long run. I think a lot of top mortgage professionals, we're not looking at what we can do this year. We're looking what we can do, our pipeline, and how many people we can serve in the next 5 years. So the NAR is going to fade away. It's going to become the norm, and everyone is going to adjust to exactly how they're able to adapt and come up with a new system. And we need to be a part of that.
I'm going to have one more question, but I just pulled up this is an interview I did with Sean a couple days ago. It'll be it'll be down below. So if you're watching this from Gracie, we'll have already shared this, and there'll be a link to it. But he took someone that was renting at 3,200, and he showed what it would look like to buy a $500,000 house, and he really broke down the tax benefits. Showed the monthly difference. But when you click on this view details, in this particular case, when you looked at the net cost of owning versus renting, and you looked at it from a tax position, owning was actually better off. And then as you scroll down, when you look at the net worth over 5 years, now again, Sean is in Northern California, so a higher appreciation rate. Let's see what he used. He used a 5% rental increase, a 6% property appreciation rate. So guys, make sure like this is, and you could do this. Oh, and reminder everyone, we've updated the TCA, so it's looking better than ever in mobile, and you can pull it and show it in a desktop. So just we recently have made quite a few updates to the total cost analysis, but make sure it's tailored. Make sure you're and you heard Gracie, she's like telling their life story. Like she's asked them questions so that when she's showing them the numbers, she's connecting to their life story. So Gracie, before we wrap, you had mentioned that you use Trust Engine Data Services. You called out our sales boomerang. What do you, not going to put you on the spot and say, hey, what's your script? But do you have kind of a similar formula in what you say when you reach out on different types of alerts?
Oh yeah, I mean so to be transparent, the sales boomerang is something that we've been looking to really develop into plug in our entire system, but we're not there yet. I do have some scripts that ready to go, but I just know that that's part of the features that sales boomerang offers is the nightly Airbnb rate, which I think is really smart. Going back to how do I find additional revenue stream to supplement the monthly mortgage payment?
Got it. Good. Well, any closing thoughts you have for everyone before we wrap up today's interview?
Well, this is really the only mortgage mentorship coaching program that every single mortgage advisor in America need to watch on the weekly basis. I've learned so much from the community. If anyone have any questions about how we're doing it, how we put our systems together, happy to share. I think this is really not from just a coaching perspective, but you guys are talking with people that are facing the real-time issues, finding the real-time solutions, being really adapted to, every 6 months changes is the producers are coming to this platform to share. And this is just pure gold every single time. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you, Gracie. So for everyone watching this, if you got value, give it a like, share it with your mortgage friends, and get out there, get after it. There's never been a better time to show real estate agents how you've got their back, how you're giving more value. They're going to refer you before they even show houses after the NAR changes. So show them how you're doing that in a valuable way for the consumer. Show how you're doing that in a way that's different from loan officers that you're competing with in your market. And Gracie, you're an incredible example. Thank you for taking time to share with everyone in the Mortgage Coach and Trust Engine community. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.